Right now at 11, a rare sighting. The creature spotted near the Rose City for the first time in 3 decades. Also tonight,
I have decided to change my vote on Project TurnKey.
it's a project meant to bridge the gap to permanent housing. So why did Clackamas County's leader do a 180? And later,
I just have this weird affinity for growing mushrooms, and I always have.
meet the first person in Oregon to legally grow magic mushrooms as medicine.
They're human. They mattered.
Good evening, and we begin with shock and grief rippling through Clark County and beyond tonight after investigators today discovered the bodies of 27-year-old Michelle Melendez and her daughter, 7-year-old Layla Stewart. Vancouver police saying they identified them based on unique genetic markings. Thanks for joining us. It is heartbreaking news on this Wednesday night for a family that had been hoping against hope for the last 10 days their loved ones would come home safe. With attention tonight once again turning to Michelle's boyfriend. We'll have more on him in just a moment. But first, our Alma McCarty filed this update earlier tonight from the scene in Washougal.
On Wednesday morning, the Clark County Sheriff's Office got a call from someone who was walking on this rural road in Washougal. The caller described what they believed to be 2 life-sized mannequins down an embankment near a creek. But when deputies arrived on scene, they discovered 2 bodies. Investigators contacted Vancouver police, who determined this was likely Michelle Melendez and Layla Stewart.
This is probably our missing mother and daughter. The Major Crimes Unit from the Sheriff's Office is kind of handling the investigation as a homicide investigation, so detectives and crime scene folks are up there.
A Washington State Patrol forensics team joined the investigation, collecting evidence and speaking with neighbors on Southeast Wooding Road, which was roped off for hours.
The medical examiner's office will obviously be the final confirmation for anybody's identity like that, but wanting to be able to kind of provide that update and that information versus just having people wonder.
The 27-year-old and her 7-year-old daughter were missing for more than a week, last seen near Northeast Vancouver Mall Drive and 77th Avenue. Michelle's boyfriend, Kirkland Warren, is officially a person of interest in their disappearance. He was arrested earlier this month, accused of domestic violence against Michelle. Warren appeared in court Wednesday morning, though his hearing was connected to a murder he's accused of committing in Arkansas.
Now we strategize on how to get justice for these 2 beautiful souls.
Michelle Bart leads the National Women's Coalition Against Violence and Exploitation and is the spokesperson for the family.
Mom, our client, Nicole, is devastated, and she hasn't slept since they disappeared. The whole family, they're all in shock, they're upset. They're mad.
In a statement, they wrote, "The family is grateful for all the community support, and we ask that people respect the privacy of the family while they process and grieve." Bart says on Thursday they will be starting a memorial fund for 2 funerals, for Michelle and for Layla. In Clark County, Alma McCarty, KGW News.
So let's look deeper tonight at questions surrounding Michelle's boyfriend, Kirkland Warren, who, by the way, is still in jail tonight facing charges in Arkansas, but also charges here that include violating a no-contact order, tampering with a witness, and unlawful possession of a firearm. Now, according to court records, he's accused of shooting at Melendez's apartment in December and was arrested earlier this month for allegedly assaulting her. Court records also say a friend of Melendez saw her in Warren's vehicle, unresponsive, the day she disappeared. The question tonight, why didn't the court order electronic monitoring for Warren? You might remember Washington has a law called the Tiffany Hill Act, which aims to protect survivors of domestic violence. The law is named after a Vancouver mother who was murdered by her estranged and abusive husband back in 2019. Now, GPS anklets worn by suspects are monitored by officials and also linked to an app on the survivor's phone, alerting them when the offender is nearby. So here's what we know in Kirkland Warren's case. In Clark County Court earlier this month, he was ordered not to have contact with Melendez. On top of that, prosecutors also determined he posed an extreme risk to her. A risk assessment with a scale of 1 to 18, 18 being extreme, found Warren scored 31. Though records indicate Clark County prosecutors did not ask for him to be monitored electronically, and the court did not order it. Instead, Warren was granted bail. Just days later, Miche and Layla disappeared. It is a scenario domestic violence advocates say happens all too often.
Why isn't electronic monitoring being used consistently? I think that that's a really important question that we need to answer. We need to understand the barriers to figure out how we can make sure that this is a system that works for survivors and our communities.
Now, we wanted to find out why the Clark County Prosecuting Attorney's Office did not request GPS monitoring for Warren, despite the facts and under those criteria that he presented an extreme danger to his girlfriend. After multiple calls and emails to their office, we got a response this afternoon saying simply no comment, citing an open investigation. All right, one more thing tonight. It's an important one. If you or someone you know is experiencing domestic violence, know that there is help. You can call or text the National Domestic Violence Hotline. That number is on your screen right now. It is 800-799-7233. Let's get to other headlines tonight, including a major about-face in Clackamas County where plans to turn a hotel into transitional housing have now been scrapped. That is because the top elected official in the county held an emergency meeting where she did a 180. Catherine Cook has reaction, including from the governor, who called the move stunning.
Project TurnKey overturned. Last month, the Clackamas County Board of Commissioners voted in favor of buying this quality inn and turning it into transitional housing. The hotel is on Sunnyside Road near I-205. Chair Tootie Smith had the deciding yes vote.
As a public official, we are trying to solve this problem.
But during an emergency meeting Wednesday, Chair Smith reversed her decision.
After much deliberation and heartfelt consideration, listening to about everybody in Clackamas County that's possible, I have decided to change my vote on Project TurnKey.
Most of the $15.2 million project would have been paid for with state funding and bond money from Metro. Those living here would have received wraparound services while transitioning away from homelessness. Many supported the idea.
We cannot continue to allow people to suffer, thinking that there might be an elusive, better hotel somewhere else, when there is a very real hotel that can help very real people here and now.
The hotel is next to a large strip mall with several businesses. On Tuesday, the property's landlord filed a lawsuit against the county, hoping to stop Project TurnKey. It claimed putting transitional housing next door would violate deed restrictions, suggesting it would be out of harmony with the restaurant operating within the shopping center.
I definitely see both points of view.
Ariana Sanchez eats here about once a month.
I understand that any effort as far as when it comes to the homeless pandemic or epidemic, it's something very serious. And I think any effort should be applauded. With that being said, I don't think that this location would necessarily be the most effective.
In a statement to KGW, Chair Smith said, quote, "My decision was not based on the lawsuit. It was based on community input." Governor Tina Kotek offered her own statement, saying, "I'm absolutely stunned by Chair Smith's reversal today. Project TurnKey is a proven model to help Oregonians move off the streets and into stability. This sudden vote was a very disappointing step backward at a time when every leader in Oregon needs to be doing more, not less, to address our homelessness crisis." During Wednesday's meeting, Chair Smith also criticized Measure 110 that decriminalized possession of small amounts of hard drugs. She argued it's contributed to crime and homelessness. She said addiction and mental health must be addressed before any real success for the homeless can be realized.
On a personal note, I do think Project TurnKey would have done that. However, maybe that project is too early in its time and can be addressed at a later date.
Chair Smith is planning a series of summits she's calling Homelessness, Causation, and Accountability. She hopes they'll provide an opportunity for the public, including business owners, the faith community, and local leaders, to come up with solutions to homelessness. David.
Catherine Cook in the newsroom tonight. Thank you, Catherine. To get you caught up on tonight's other headlines now, a wanted man who got away after a SWAT team surrounded a house in Woodburn is still on the loose. This was breaking news last night at 11. Police say Jesus Camarena is wanted on multiple charges, including assaulting an officer and domestic violence. Woodburn police say they saw Camarena walk into a house on Williams Avenue yesterday afternoon around 3. By the time they got a warrant to search the house about 90 minutes later, they say they found Camarena had escaped. A rare sighting in this part of Oregon with a wolverine surfacing along the Columbia near Portland. Now, these are photos from Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife. 2 people spotted the wolverine Monday while fishing. It may look like a small bear, but it's the largest member of the weasel family. Officials found tracks on Tuesday, but no other sign of the animal. It is the first confirmed report of a wolverine sighting in Oregon outside the Wallowa Mountains in over 3 decades. And a drug-resistant fungus has now reached Oregon. Today we've learned from health officials there was an outbreak of Candida auris, or C. auris for short, in a health facility in Oregon. OHA initially said 3 cases were detected, but then clarified those numbers were not official and transmission was, quote, limited. Experts say the fungus, which is a yeast first detected in Japan, has now been found in about half of U.S. states. They say while it is unlikely to be a problem for healthy people, it can be deadly for those with weak immune systems and can survive on surfaces, including skin.